Realized when you came in, I didn't have my microphone anywhere near my face.
Oh, well, as long as it's plugged in already, so you don't have to, leave and come back again.
Welcome to Stargazing, a Stargate gazing podcast. I'm your host, Mary.
And I'm your other host, Kathy.
And each week we review an episode of Stargate alternating between SG-1 and Atlantis. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Fine. How are you?
Doing okay. Just having a lazy Saturday morning.
Excellent.
I assume you're not?
No. Getting ready for vacation. I've had lots to do. I had lots to do yesterday, lots to do today. I wanted to get to a traditional Irish music session to play in, but I'm not going to have time for that today, and that makes me sad.
Boo.
Boo indeed, because the ones I often go to on the first and third Saturdays of the month are canceled this month, so it means I'm not really getting to any this month. And that's sad, because I like them, and they're fun.
Yeah. So vacation.
Yes.
You leaving tomorrow?
We are leaving tomorrow. Stupid early. Our flight is at 7:10 or something like that.
Ooh.
So, yeah. I like earlier flights, though. I don't like taking a flight in the afternoon because then I feel like I've wasted an entire day of vacation if I'm not getting there until, late afternoon or evening. So
True.
I'd rather suck it up and get up early and then still have almost a whole day in wherever it is that we're going.
Are you flying out of Bradley?
We are, thankfully. Yes. So
nice.
Not too far of a drive from where we are here, of course. And that makes life a bit easier.
Yeah. And also, since Bradley's not that big, it's way easier than flying out of one of the bigger ones in the bigger cities.
Exactly. It's a hassle to try to get to JFK or Boston.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's good. Yeah. I'm excited for you.
Thanks. We are excited too.
Yeah.
Just cleaning because my mom's going to stay here and packing and tried to fit my workout in. Of course, getting our podcast in early for the week since I won't be home on the normal day and I'm not taking all my podcast stuff with me on a flight.
Even when we try that, it almost never works out.
I know. We've done it when we've gone on vacation for together, and I've done it a couple times where I've been on vacation somewhere that I was driving that you weren't coming with me, but I'm not putting extra luggage on a flight when it's hard enough to get everything shoved into a carry-on because I don't like checking my luggage. No. Although we're all the way in the back of the plane, so I might end up having to check my luggage anyway, whether I want to or not, and I always hate that. Boo. Indeed.
Boo.
Boo. What's new with you?
Not too much. Yeah, let me think about that for a second. We had our holiday party for work after the holidays this year for the first time.
Yeah.
That was interesting. It was weird to be all festive again and pretend it was still December for one afternoon.
Where did you go?
It was at a country club in the middle of downtown New Haven. It's so weird. Well, slightly outside of downtown.
I think I've been there. I think I was there for a wedding at some point.
Yeah.
Not mine, obviously.
No, I would remember that. It was fun. It was just weird to do it in January. I get it, because then they didn't have to worry about trying to schedule it around all the other things that happen in December, but
right.
It's still weird, but that's okay.
Indeed.
Did I tell you I got in the lottery to go to Brooks Lodge in 2027, but then I decided not to do it.
What's Brooks Lodge?
That's the lodge where you go watch the bears in Alaska.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. Why did you decide not to go?
Because it's going to be an incredibly expensive vacation. Yeah. So I was like, I can't justify this right now. Just can't do it.
That sucks.
So I might find somewhere to go for a few days that's way cheaper than that. Oh, also, They Might Be Giants just announced they're going to be doing a tour in spring. So I might actually coincide that with a They Might Be Giants thing.
Nice.
So yeah.
Excellent.
So vacations will happen. They just won't be several $1,000s.
That's fair, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Another time, maybe, if we still have national parks in a few years.
Yeah. I feel like that's a big if at this point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I hope Teddy Roosevelt comes back to life and destroys anyone who tries to ruin national parks.
Call me Teddy. I am 26th President of the United States.
Yeah. I bet that's likely to happen.
Zombie Teddy Roosevelt. I'm for it. Yeah.
I didn't have that one on my bingo card, I don't think, for this year, but that'd be awesome if it did happen.
Anything could happen.
It's true. Anything could happen.
Rodney could ascend.
Speaking of random things that you wouldn't expect to happen, but that suddenly become potential.
Yeah.
Or Rodney could get superpowers.
He could get superpowers.
A slight tingle in my fingers. I think it's affecting me.
He might have gotten superpowers.
He could have gotten superpowers. He did get superpowers.
For a little while.
Yeah. But we've seen these kinds of superpowers before, though, at least. So that's nothing new. We haven't seen zombie presidents before.
That's true. Stargate does not really go into that much.
No.
And they're the worst for it, maybe.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe in the new series they're going to develop, they can go with zombie presidents.
Could be. I feel like maybe a zombie president would have been better than President Landry from last episode.
That's true. Zombie President Roosevelt will take him out, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So what is this episode that we are glancingly referencing?
This is Stargate Atlantis Season 3, Episode 14, The Tao of Rodney.
Indeed.
Rodney and Zelenka are wandering around wet, dark corridors in some bowel of Atlantis that had been before covered in water and is now free. It's a mess. There are other scientists with them. It's not just the two of them. There was a lot of couches and chairs strewn about. Was this some kind of waiting room?
I didn't even notice that somehow.
There were so many.
Empty chairs, that empty table.
That's very bizarre.
You don't see a lot of seating throughout the Atlantis we normally see, so it was like, what is this place?
No. Yeah, that's true. There's like oddly little seating in the other parts.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they always have to come to this area of the city if they want to sit.
This is sit-in land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems inefficient to have just one section of the city that you need to go to sit down, but I guess that's what they decided to do.
Yeah. Rodney is talking about how her sister used to leave lights on all over the house and it was really annoying and you really should just turn things out. And then Zelenka tries to tell a story about his brother and how he burned down the house. Rodney, though, is like, that's not relevant to what's happening, so you can shut up now, Zelenka.
He was being such an ass.
Such an ass.
Poor Zelenka.
Zelenka even elaborates that they lived in a tent in the dead of winter for 3 months. And that's still, Rodney's just like, I don't care.
Yeah, my story is more relevant. Yours isn't. Who cares?
Yeah.
Dick.
Rodney thinks his story is relevant because what they're doing is actually turning off a bunch of shit that the ancients from that ship that the replicators all killed came in, turned everything on, and then just died on them. So now they've got all this stuff wasting power, so they have to go shut everything off. And that's what they're doing down here in this wet, dark corridor.
Yeah. I did notice that Zelenka made a surprisingly blasé joke about how Rodney was the one that changed the replicators so that they could kill off all of the ancients. But he said it in such a joking way, and I was like, people died, though. Why are you joking about this, Zelenka? He was teasing Rodney as though, Rodney messed up again. But, yeah, a couple hundred people died.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I was surprised to hear that coming from Zelenka.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's just had enough of Rodney.
Could be.
They make it to a lab.
Secret lab.
That is also on, so they're going to go in there and turn it off. They continue arguing through all of this time, and now we find out that Rodney had a bet that he could shut everything off from the control room, but they can't, so that's why they have to schlep everywhere, because Rodney failed at that. Rodney steps up on the pedal stool in the middle of the room.
Pedal stool?
You don't expect to be put on a what?
Pedal stool. And Zelenka's like, maybe you don't go up there right now. And Rodney's like, well, I gotta figure out how to turn it off. So he starts futzing with it. And then suddenly,
Surprise, motherfucker.
before he can turn it off, a beam of light comes in and wraps around him.
That seems bad.
Yeah. Not only that, though, that beam of light shorts out everything in the room. So I guess he did turn it off in the end.
Yeah.
Good job.
Not the way he meant to, but yeah, it worked ultimately.
Yeah. But they are all now very concerned about what that light might have done to Rodney. And that takes us to credits.
It does. Credits. Thankfully, Rodney made the wise decision to go to the infirmary after that. So that's where we are next. Although, as far as Dr. Beckett can tell, he's fine. He's done a whole bunch of tests on Rodney, and he has found nothing. He's done blood tests and imaging tests, literally everything he can think of, and he says he's found no anomalies in any result. So Rodney, though, reminds him, mysterious energy pulse, there's got to be something wrong. It was a device by the ancients. Those things aren't just pointless. It's got to have done something. But nothing. Maybe it's going to cause some kind of mutation that causes giantism or invisibility, and Shepard says he would think it was cool if he got turned into a bug.
I thought he was saying that those things would be cool. He only got turned into a bug.
Right. Yeah, that is. For some reason, I thought he said I would turn into a bug, but no, he did say, now that I'm actually reading the transcript, he said he turned into a bug. Yes, this is true. Forgot about that whole thing. I agree that one of those other things would have been way better than turning into a bug, but that is not what's happened, at least not yet. Nothing's happening. So Beckett says he should just go back to work. He's clearing Rodney for active duty, even though Rodney doesn't want to be cleared for active duty. He wants to be put under guard. He wants to have more tests done. He is sure that even if nothing is wrong yet, something is going to happen. Dr. Weir happens to be there and asks what the chances are that it could maybe make Rodney more pleasant, which was rather hilarious, I thought, but Rodney wasn't too amused by that. Shepard promises that he'll keep an eye on Rodney, and that's going to have to be good enough, I guess. So they're going to send Rodney back to work, and for whatever reason, Weir leaves the room, but Rodney asks everyone, can you still see me?
So, is he a hypochondria about this too?
Yeah, apparently he's really afraid of being invisible.
A boy made invisible by mysterious scientific force.
It would be cool, but only if you could control it. If you were just always invisible, that would suck.
Agree.
Yeah. Then we're back in the dank, dark lab with Zelenka and Rodney are working while Shepard is hanging out, keeping an eye on Rodney by reading a magazine.
Did you notice what it was?
No. Did you?
No, I did not. I was just curious if you had.
No, I didn't think to check or I couldn't see it. I did obsess about the food eating later, so at least a little bit. Zelenka and Rodney are discussing that Rodney wouldn't have gotten up on the pedal stool like that if he weren't trying to show off for Dr. Esposito, who has the long dark hair and the perfect little Shepard ads, and then Rodney cuts them off. He says he was going to say smile. Zelenka tells Rodney that whatever he did caused all the power conduits to be fried in that room. But Rodney's like, but maybe it wasn't me because this was underwater for 10,000 years.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Maybe I'm not to blame? Maybe?
Yeah. Possible.
Yeah. Zelenka agrees that is possible too. And then Rodney says he's going to go to lunch because they are not making any headway. So then he's in the mess hall eating by himself, sitting there putting one grape at a time into his mouth with each hand, one after the other. It's just a strange way to eat grapes.
Yes, I eat grapes one at a time, but I don't just alternate hands putting grapes into my face.
He's got the perpetual grape machine going. He can't stop eating grapes.
Grapes are delicious.
Which we do find out later. He is very voracious. So,
yes,
as a part of what's going on with him.
Indeed.
He's sitting alone, but he can hear the rest of Team Shart talking about him, asking how Rodney is. Shepard says, same old Rodney. Ronan's like, he looks a couple pounds heavier to me. And that Rodney eats all the time and doesn't exercise. Shepard adds, feeding his unhappiness. Rodney is like, what the fuck, guys? And he turns around and his team isn't right behind him. They are at a table across the room, but he can hear them like they're sitting right there with him, which is not normal.
No, something weird's happening.
Something weird is definitely happening. He goes over, though, to defend himself against their allegations that he's getting fatter and is unhappy, and says he's exactly the same weight he's been since he got here. He needs to eat regularly because he's hypoglycemic, which we already knew, and he's generally a very happy person, he says. Before anyone can say anything to this, Shepard is called away, and Rodney storms off anyway. They are confused.
Quite.
And concerned, I'm sure. He also had a lot of other fruit on his plate, remnants of fruit, banana peel, some orange rinds, so he's on a fruit kick.
Fruit is delicious.
Anyone wanted to know, yeah.
Then we're in the control room. Dr. Weir is there, as is Shepard. They're talking to Lorne over the radio. He's off on some planet. I don't think it really even matters what planet they're on, but there's 20 of something or someone that they're up against, and they're asking for some backup immediately. So Shepard's going to get a team ready and head out to the jumper bay. Meanwhile, over in the lab, Dr. Zelenka is working and asks Dr. Weir when she comes in if she's had any word on Shepard and his team that went off as backup. Zelenka's just been continuing to work on this same lab that we've been in the entire time. He's trying to figure out exactly what they were doing here so that he can figure out what might have happened to Rodney or what they can expect to happen to Rodney. He asks Dr. Weir, though, for a little bit of help because there's some ancient writing he's not really able to translate. And Dr. Weir says that there's some references to elements of human physiology, but she's not getting anything too specific out of it either. She pushes some buttons and finds a bit more information about mutations and base codes and something along those lines. They're trying to manipulate human DNA, it seems. So that might not be great for Rodney.
Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
And they're wondering why it has had no apparent effect on Rodney yet, if they were mutating his DNA. But we don't get an answer to that. We just get a technician calling over the radio to Dr. Weir that the rescue team, Shepard and his backup, have returned.
Then we're in the jumper bay where Team Shart has returned. Weir and Zelenka come to meet them. The door to the jumper opens, and Rodney and Shepard are in the middle of an argument. Rodney is convinced that he stopped the attack with his brain. Everyone's fine. Lorne even credits Rodney with that. Rodney says he just thought maybe if all the weapons jammed at the same time, everything would be great. And then they all jammed at the same time.
And it was great.
And it was great. They all got out of there. Everyone's safe. They are skeptical that Rodney did this. So he decides to prove it by levitating Beckett, who went with them. I don't know where he came from.
I think he just came there to check in on anybody that needed medical help. So I think he just came there to the bay from medical.
Yeah, but he does. He just picks Beckett up with his brain.
Check out the big brain on Brad. You're a smart motherfucker. That's right.
He pointed at him, too.
Yes, he did point at him. He did use his finger. He claims to find it as disturbing as everyone else does. Beckett doesn't believe him. Weir orders Beckett put down, and he does. He puts Beckett gently back down on the ground.
Yes. Yeah, put down on the ground, not put down as in like...
Yes. He lowers him down slowly and gently.
We're back in the infirmary again after this. Of course, Rodney is getting checked out yet again. Dr. Weir asks Rodney if he's seen any other instances of whatever power this is manifesting itself, but Rodney corrects her and says powers plural. In addition to having telekinetic powers, he's also got the super hearing that we saw before, and he says, believe it or not, I'm getting smarter too, which I know is really difficult to believe since I was already really smart to begin with. He's very humble. Do you think this will make him more humble? It does not make him more humble, spoiler. And in fact, Shepard asks if super ego counts as power. Meanwhile, a staff member brings Rodney a tray of food, and he's like, yeah, just keep it coming. So the appetite that Rodney has does seem to have something to do with the mutations and his special superpowers.
It's a giant-ass steak he's eating, too.
Yeah. Delicious.
And potatoes and carrots and Jell-O.
Delicious. Somehow, for whatever reason, Dr. Beckett is surprised Rodney is eating again. I don't really know why. His brain is apparently more active than the typical brain, Dr. Beckett says, and since brains use actually a surprisingly huge percentage of the amount of energy that we use in an entire day, it shouldn't be that surprising that if his brain is extra active and has special powers that he would need more food to support that, but here we are. He's got extra synaptic activity, which is kind of bullshit, but whatever. That's what we're going to go with, apparently.
Yeah.
Science is whatever we want it to be.
Sometime later, Dr. Weir and Shepard head down to the lab where there's still people working on the device from earlier. And they're still not convinced that this stuff going on with Rodney is a good thing because, as Shepard points out, the ancients were pretty screwed up, and also they did a lot of weird and not great things with their technology that often had a lot of really bad side effects. So
I was so happy to hear him say this.
Yeah. So they still really need to figure out what exactly they were doing with this machine and what the ultimate impact could be on Rodney. More specifically, Shepard says that they made giant mistakes and never fixed them after or before they ascended. So there could be all kinds of horrible surprises still for them around the city, including this one. They're wondering if this machine works on everybody or if there was something just about Rodney that made this machine work. Of course, they don't have answers to that yet, and since it's only been a day, they're still skeptical that they've seen the full potential of whatever this thing is going to be doing to Rodney ultimately. So they're just going to continue doing research on this thing. Shepard, though, wants to know if maybe he can be next. Maybe experimenting on a second person would be beneficial and help with that. He's the one that was just saying that they made a lot of mistakes and did some bad stuff, and now he's saying he wants to go in the machine next. I thought that was a bit of a weird turnaround, but that's what he wants. And of course, Dr. Weir is not going to agree to that until they do actually know what this thing is.
They like superpowers.
Zelenka, who was there but not participating, apparently was listening and says, if there's a list happening, then can I be on that list too? No, Dr. Weir wants everyone to focus on figuring out what this thing does first, and then we'll talk about making a list of other people that can try it. But for now, nobody gets to try it. Just Rodney.
Yeah. And that was only by accident.
Yes.
Rodney is in the infirmary. He wants Beckett to let him go. He says, "You can't keep me cooped up here forever." Beckett says, "Obviously something is not normal, so we gotta, look at that some more." Rodney says, "I should be out there using my powers to do some good." But then he spots Beckett's donut sitting on a table and tries to float it over to him. Beckett intercepts it, though, and won't let Rodney eat his donut.
Now I want a donut.
That would be pretty nice. Oh, they did have some nice beignets at the holiday party. They were pretty good.
Delicious.
With Nutella inside. They were so good.
Nice.
How about I celebrate with?
Beignets.
Anyway, Rodney continues to try to convince Beckett to let him go. He's still him, and it's not like you guys could stop me anyway. When Ronon saunters up and is like, "I could stop you." And Rodney's like, "Oh, really? You want to try it?" And Ronan's like, "Do you?" And Rodney definitely does not want to try to go head to head with Ronon physically.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
To not do that.
Yeah. Beckett, though, was actually saying he can still do his daily routines as long as someone's with him. Rodney was just not listening to Beckett, maybe? So I guess Ronan's going to follow him around now for a while. Rodney's excited, gets up and is running out of there. He then does steal the donut telekinetically.
He could have just gone and gotten his own donut.
He could have.
Now that he's leaving the sick bay here.
But, it's Rodney, so he's kind of a dick sometimes.
It's true.
Or many times.
It's true. But Beckett might not have the chance to leave and get another donut, so.
That's true, because he's got work to do, yeah.
Exactly.
And there might not be any donuts left.
There might not be any donuts
Beckett.
left.
He's donutless. Rodney, as they're leaving, tells Ronon, "We could be a team. You could be my sidekick like Batman and Robin." Batman and Ronon. Ronon tells him if he keeps eating like that, it's going to be Fat Man. And he just does it in such an offhand, deadpan way. It was great. I liked the delivery a lot.
It was silly.
Yeah, you keep eating like that, it's more like a fat man.
Out in the hall, as they're heading to, I don't know, wherever it is that Rodney wants to go, they pass by the person, I guess, that Rodney was crushing on before, or that Shepard was saying had a perfect little smile. Rodney apparently can read minds now and says, "Oh, you think so? She thinks I'm hot." She says, "I didn't say anything," and is clearly not comfortable with this conversation. And then Rodney corrects himself. "Oh, no, she meant you, Ronon." So she hurries the hell out of there, understandably, because that's creepy to be reading people's minds, especially without their consent. Rodney, though, is delighted to realize that he can read minds and is hearing people's thoughts. Because I guess he hadn't actually realized that he was reading her mind in his defense. But now that he does realize he can read minds, he, of course, continues to do it, despite the lack of consent. Yeah. He goes to Dr. Weir's office next and says something about being fine, no, yes, and it doesn't. Dr. Weir isn't sure what he's talking about. And Rodney says, "Oh, I was just answering the questions that you were asking in your head, because I can read your mind now." It's a little disturbing, he says, and he tried tuning it out, but it wasn't really working so well, so he's just going with it for now. He is talking really fast at this point, and making it difficult to follow the conversation. But basically, he's got some ideas for how they can optimize power throughout the city. And so he's going to try to reconfigure some systems to help them get the most out of the 1 ZPM that they have. And he says it's too complicated to explain, but he'll be happy to talk to her with the results once he's done with that. So she's just going to have to trust him? Sure. Rodney then says good, as though she's actually agreed with it out loud, but she hasn't. But then he tells Ronon she wants you to shoot me if you think I might be trying to take over the city. Then when Dr. Weir and Ronon are just giving him really strange looks, again, because he's talking so fast and just having this one-sided conversation, he's like, no, it was a joke. Please don't shoot me. Just make sure your weapon's on stun, though, right? Okay, that'll be great. And then Rodney goes ahead and does it himself. Even though Ronon's gun is still in its holster, Rodney puts it on stun anyway. And also tells Ronon as much. Ronon asks Dr. Weir if he can shoot Rodney now, but of course that's not going to happen. And Rodney's already on his way to wherever he's going next and is impatiently calling for Ronon, and also says that he heard him ask Dr. Weir if Ronon could shoot him. Dr. Weir, just to be on the safe side, is going to send a science team down to check up on them and supervise whatever it is Rodney's about to do.
Then we get a shot of Zelenka continuing. I love Zelenka's diligence that he's just down there trying to get this solved this whole time.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the power goes out on him, so he heads out, I assume swearing in his native tongue.
Presumably.
And then we're in the chair room, and Zelenka enters and asks what's going on. Nobody seems to know exactly what Rodney's doing. Zelenka tells Rodney he's affecting power all over the city while he's sitting in that chair doing things. And he's like, yeah, isn't it great? And Zelenka says, no, I can't do my job. Rodney assures him it's only temporary. Zelenka argues that he is trying to figure out if anything has been done to you permanently. She's surprised that Rodney's not more concerned about himself either, or two.
It is surprising.
Yeah. But Rodney's running with it, and he says Zelenka is jealous. Zelenka says no, and you should be down there working with me to try to fix this, but instead you're burying your head in the sand. Rodney, though, is like, no, I'm up here doing important things that will affect everybody. So Zelenka turns and leaves, again, probably cursing to himself in check as he leaves. And Rodney's like, I'm the wind beneath his wings deep down.
Shepard comes in to see Dr. Weir after this. She's just getting to the good bit of whatever it is that she's reading. Shepard's like, don't you hate it when people keep interrupting you for the good bit, even though he's the one doing the interrupting? The light flickers. We don't actually know what she's doing. I don't think it really matters. The light flickers, and Shepard mentions how he really finds that to be a bit unnerving. Even knowing that Rodney's a super genius right now, he still doesn't like that there's power fluctuations happening. Dr. Coleman apparently has been speaking to Weir and says that whatever it is that Rodney is doing is actually significantly improving the city's power system. So despite the power fluctuations and the annoying losses of power at inconvenient times, overall it seems like this will probably be a good thing. So that would be great. Then they start talking about some ancient research that Dr. Weir has been doing. She says that they know that the ancients evolved physiologically to the point where they could transform into that state of pure energy, but it wasn't just a physical process, it was also a mental process. It looks like maybe this machine was intended to help them get to that point on a genetic level, as Shepard likens it basically to a kick in the pants that they needed to get to where they needed to be on the body level. So this is apparently an ascension machine that Rodney has been affected by. There was a similar one in the Milky Way galaxy that the Goa'uld were trying to create, but it seems like the ancients actually did manage to create one. Shepard asks if that means that Rodney is going to ascend, but again, Weir says that there's more to it than just the physical components, so probably not. They still don't really know exactly what the implications are going to be for Rodney, so Dr. Weir is going to keep trying to do more research. Except that as Shepard's about to leave, she does read something important and says, you know what? Nope, we're going to see Rodney right away. Let's go.
They head to the chair room. Rodney's like, I've got 2 minutes left and everything's going to be back online and fine. But they want to stop him right now. Weir says they need to talk to him. But before they can actually talk to them, he reads everything that they're going to say in their minds. He's like, I'm going to die. I'm not sick. Never better. He gets out of the chair. Again, this is them trying to tell him, but this is just Rodney going off. The ancient device accelerated his evolution, and he's going to be physically capable of ascension eventually, but there's that whole other spiritual side to ascension and a mental component that he will need to do if he's going to ascend or die, apparently. They keep starting to either say something or look like they're going to say something, but he just keeps rolling on. He's having this entire conversation by himself.
Yep, just like he was before in Weir's office.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, it's not as easy as that, I know, but I could just stay a highly evolved human, right? But no. What do you mean no?
I really, as I've complained about many times before, hate how they're throwing around the term of Rodney's evolution or his brain evolving. They keep referring to that. And again, that's not a thing that happens in an individual. It is a thing that happens over time throughout multiple generations. And it still continues to annoy the crap out of me.
Pidgeotto's evolving!
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, he says, this stupid ancient device doesn't work properly. And I'm going to die if I don't ascend. Shepard then turns to Weir and is like, there's something easier about this. Before he can completely spiral out of control, it does come to a point where he needs to get back in the chair or disaster's going to happen. So that's a good distraction for him. So he gets back in the chair to finish what he started with the energy in the city. We see in the lab that Zelenka is still working and the power goes out again. So he gets mad and gets out of there. While Rodney's still working, Coleman reports that there's a power surge throughout the grid, and that's not great. And we see it's especially not great because then Zelenka is struck by electrical currents. Poor Zelenka. I thought the slow motion, him getting hit, was a little funny, but only because I'm a monster.
Indeed. Zelenka is, of course, rushed to the infirmary because he's unconscious at this point. Beckett puts him on oxygen, and he's got a huge electrical burn on his chest. It's not looking so good for Dr. Zelenka, and apparently he stops breathing, in fact, almost immediately upon arriving there. So Dr. Beckett tries to intubate him. They are trying to get him ready to try to shock him back, but Rodney arrives and is very distraught to see what happened. It's actually surprising to see him so concerned for Zelenka, given how much shit he's always giving Zelenka. Yeah. Just as Dr. Beckett is about to shock Zelenka, Rodney tells everyone to move. Dr. Beckett is confused and angry, of course, because he tells Rodney that Zelenka is dying. He needs to help him. But Rodney says, no, just give me a second. I know what to do. And as we've seen before, the Atlantis people did have magical healing abilities. So Rodney steps up, puts his hands on Zelenka. The burns go away. He starts breathing again. His vital signs come back. And Zelenka is fine, thankfully.
Woo.
And just looks around, asking what happened, as everyone else stands there staring in shock, including Rodney.
Yeah. He got all the magic powers.
He did, apparently.
Not just some.
So many.
He gets all of them.
Yeah.
Later, Weir goes to see Rodney in his office. He has so many whiteboards covered in math.
So much math.
There were so many. He, in fact, says he invented a new math.
Why would they change math? Math is math.
Okay,
math
Dad.
is math.
Which is a surprise to Weir.
Yes.
And he says it's going to change human understanding of the universe as they know it. He asks how Zelenka is, and Weir asks if he really needs to ask, and he says he's actually now blocking out people's thoughts because it was overwhelming.
Well, that's good that he's figured out how to do that and has started doing that.
He didn't do it out of concern for them. He did it out of concern for himself. He wasn't able to think clearly with all the other thoughts.
It wasn't because of the invasion of privacy and the lack of consent. It was because he didn't like the constant chatter.
Rodney knows why Weir is there and is to tell him that there's no reversing this process. He said he tried himself to fix the ancient device, but it wasn't set up to do that, and he can't be stopped. Weir says, though, she's actually there to offer him help if he wants to explore ascension. He said he's read everything he could in the database, but she's like, yeah, but there's maybe something more to that. He doesn't want to ascend at all. Anyway, there's too many rules. He likes to live his life working towards achievement and discovering things. And he says, once you know it all, what do you do then? Weir, though, argues that maybe ascension doesn't mean the end. So he's just going on. He's not a man of faith. He does not want to do this ascension stuff. It doesn't come naturally to him to be that way. But he says he's also come to terms with what's happening to him, and he just wants to do as much as he can before he dies. And not waste his time on mumbo-jumbo he doesn't understand. He hands her a flash drive and says he's found a way to increase Daedalus's shield power, so yay! He's doing lots of stuff.
Yeah.
He's got lots of important stuff to do.
Indeed.
Weir continues to talk to him, though, about ascension and says, well, maybe if you ascend, then you could become human again. It happens. And he's like, oh, I didn't think of that. So maybe there is something to this.
Next, we are in the infirmary. Apparently, Anubis had an ancient brain scanning device that measured a person's synaptic activity, which I don't really remember them mentioning before, but apparently that's a thing. Rodney calls it an ascendometer, basically.
Is that when he created baby Anubis? Like his son?
I don't even remember the plot line with his son, so I have no idea. I don't know why I don't remember that, but I have no recollection of that story.
Fair.
So basically, the lower he can get his synaptic level, the closer he's going to be to ascension. And so they're going to be monitoring him with this thing as he tries to work towards that goal. So this isn't just hocus pocus stuff like Rodney was talking about before. It is actually about changing the electrochemical state of the brain and trying to calm down the activity that is happening, especially now that Rodney's brain is supposedly in overdrive. So there's apparently a specific amount of hertz that he's going to have to try to get down to, which he says is somewhere between 0.1 and 0.9 hertz on an EEG frequency. But Beckett says that that's pretty much impossible because that's not really something that you can do when you are conscious, even if you're relaxed, and you can't really do that sleeping either. He says that's really only associated with people who are near comatose. But then Rodney says no unevolved person, which made me angry, of course.
Yeah.
So apparently, because of his advanced brain, Rodney thinks that it's going to be possible for him to slow his activity down even more than what might be an option for a typical person. So they'd give it a try. And they take a measurement for Rodney now, and it's at 29 hertz. And 62% synaptic activity currently, apparently. So he's going to try to get it much lower than it currently is if his plan of ascension is actually going to work. He tries to close his eyes, calm himself down a little bit, asks Dr. Beckett what it is now, and now it's 30. So it's even higher than it had been. For the first reading. Rodney is angry and doesn't think that that's possible. Beckett must have hooked it up wrong, but no, he didn't. It's just that Rodney is not very good at calming his brain down. And Dr. Beckett reminds Rodney that the ancients and anyone else who's managed to do it has spent basically their entire life trying to prepare for ascension, so it's probably not so simple as just trying to calm your thoughts for a minute and then ascending, even with that evolution, quote-unquote, machine that they had. So Rodney's going to keep trying, and he tells Beckett to get out of here and stop rippling his pond as he goes back to trying to meditate.
Then we're in the mess hall with Weir and Shepard. They're talking about Rodney's situation and how they could get him to ascend. Shepard says he needs to release his burdens. Shepard says maybe Dr. Heitmeyer can help him, and Weir's like, actually, I think you should help him, which surprises the hell out of Shepard.
Yeah.
Even though, as Weir argues, he lived with ancients trying to ascend for 6 months and helped them face their fears and ascend. And he said, I fought a scary monster. It's what I do best.
I was wondering, when the hell did he live with ancients for 6 months? I had kind of forgotten about that episode, but then I was actually looking for the transcript for this. They had it listed as a blooper that in this episode they called those people ancients because those were supposed to just be regular humans.
They were followers.
They were random followers and humans that had come from all different planets. So that's why I didn't remember him living with the ancients for 6 months, because he didn't actually do that.
I also like earlier in the episode, he referred to those group of people as pansy wannabes.
Yeah.
Come on, Shepard.
Another blooper that they mentioned, which apparently happens in multiple episodes, is that I guess the people that are playing Germans keep putting their German flag on their uniforms upside down. Oh. Which I've never noticed, but they mentioned it happening at some point in this episode in the background somewhere.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't notice that.
Yeah.
But Weir says, for Rodney, this whole thing is probably a scary monster. So come on, Shepard. Help him ascend.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you.
So next we're in Shepard's quarters. I did think it was a little bit weird that Teyla's not at all involved in this because at one point here, Shepard does admit he's not very good at meditation. So he, I know, would have extra knowledge about how people were trying to ascend, but when it comes to just straight up meditation practices, you need Teyla involved. So it should have been both of them.
Very weird.
But
yeah.
No, it's just Shepard, kind of the blind leading the blind here. Shepard says that he doesn't think this is going to work if Rodney is hooked up to the machine. Rodney asks how they're going to even know if it's working and if he's getting anywhere if they don't hook him up to the machine. So they are going to go ahead and do that. Shepard reminds Rodney that he was with the ancients who weren't really ancients for 6 months, so he did pick up a few things that might be able to help Rodney, even though he wasn't great at meditation. He tells Rodney that the first thing that he needs to convince himself is that this is not a means to an end. Rodney is like, of course it is. It's ascension. And then that'll be it. But Shepard reminds him, no, you're not going to just stop existing after ascension because the plan is to retake human form after that, remember? So you can't think of it as just being a means to an end to get back to your life. So he's going to have to try to change how he's thinking about this whole thing. They go back and forth about this a little bit, but Shepard's insistent that no, you can't think of this as just being a means to an end. It is not going to work if that's what you keep thinking of it as. So they get Rodney into a position that is comfortable for him and relaxing. So he lays down on the floor and Shepard leans back on his bed and watches the monitor that is showing Rodney's brain scan readings. And Shepard just takes him through a bit of a guided meditation. Rodney repeats after Shepard when he talks about breathing in and out, but Shepard says, no, you need to do this without talking. So Shepard continues to take him through this guided meditation, asking Rodney to think about things that worry him the most, and Rodney keeps talking back to Shepard when he's not supposed to be. It's a rather silly scene, and it doesn't really seem to be going all that well.
No.
Finally, Shepard tells Rodney to imagine that he's sitting on a Ferris wheel, and Rodney's like, why a Ferris wheel? And apparently that was what worked for Shepard specifically, because I don't know, he doesn't really get to the point of why, but he does also mention the fact that it did help that the person teaching him to meditate was very attractive. So I don't really know why the Ferris wheel comes into play, but that's probably not going to work for Rodney the same way that it did for Shepard.
He just said he likes Ferris wheels.
Yes, this is true. So Shepard is still just trying to do his best to remember what he was taught during that whole time with those people that were trying to ascend. And so he continues to just walk him through this meditation. On the monitor, we see that the EEG has dropped down to 33 hertz. It beeps, which of course immediately prompts McKay to ask how he's doing. They really should be muting that so that it doesn't beep whenever his EEG readings change. That makes no sense why they would leave that on.
Ah, I see you have the machine that goes bing!
But Shepard tells him he can't keep thinking about how it's doing. And that is a really super common. I've actually tried to teach them meditation too. And a lot of times people will focus on, am I doing this right? Am I meditating? Am I clearing my mind? And then you get hyper-focused on whether or not you're clearing your mind. And then that is not actually meditation either. If you're just constantly thinking to yourself, is my mind clear? How about now? Is it clear? But that's essentially what Rodney is doing here. And of course, that's not really working so well either.
Free your mind.
But then Rodney decides to give up because he's coming up with too many good ideas in his head, such as why light behaves like both a particle and a wave, he suddenly realizes. So he's got to go and do some mathing, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
When we next see him in his office, he is working on multiple computers and laptops. He's physically typing on 2 laptops, while he's also mentally typing on computers on the other side of the table. It's a lot.
Quite.
Weir comes in for a visit, to ask what he's doing. And he says he needs to be running like 50 simulations, but the computers can't even keep up with him. He also knows how to make them run faster, but he doesn't have time to implement that. He's also come up with a virtual prototype for a hyperspace generator for the puddle jumpers. Weir's like, this is all good, but, do you really want to spend your time this way? Rodney says he doesn't have much of a choice. She still, though, wants him to try Ascension. He says it's a waste of time. Maybe she could do it, but not him. She tells him he's selling himself short by not even trying. But he says he doesn't know where to start. She tells him to stop thinking, which would be very difficult for him.
Have you tried not being a mutant?
He says he doesn't understand.
It's not about not thinking. It's about not following any of the thoughts that come in. But whatever, that's a common misnomer that meditation is about blanking out your mind entirely. It isn't.
She tells him he needs to release his burden, that somewhere deep down a lot of people believe they're not deserving. So maybe that's the way to do it? Yeah. He's like, yeah, right. She tells him this isn't about religion. It's about shedding guilt and anger, anything else that makes you feel ashamed, and focus everything on ascending instead. She tells him to maybe do some self-reflection to try to figure out what might be stopping him, and leaves him to think about that.
And I guess Rodney takes her suggestion to heart. Next thing we see, he's gone to the lab where Zelenka is continuing to work. Before Rodney actually says anything, Zelenka tells him, I don't care what you're going to say. I'm doing my best. I'm going to keep working on this, whether you want me to or not. Zelenka is determined to figure out a solution. Rodney tells Zelenka that he appreciates that. And then he tells Zelenka further that I understand that I can be petty and vindictive and I'm jealous. And a lot of that, though, is because I like to supplement my own feelings of inadequacy by creating a bubble of hostility around myself. And I'm sorry that you've been the one to bear the brunt of most of that hostility. Zelenka is shocked to hear Rodney talking like that. He is actually seeming very humble during this moment, joking before about how whether or not this is going to make him more humble. He is actually showing a lot of humility in this scene. And he goes on to tell Zelenka that he's a brilliant scientist and a decent human being, and he should never have to endure the kind of abuse that Rodney's been putting him through. So he just wants him to know that he thinks Zelenka deserves better than Rodney has actually been giving him, and he apologizes. Zelenka continues to be shocked as Rodney then just leaves and heads to Teyla next. So he's continuing on with trying to release his burden, as was suggested. He's got a whole tea set up this time around and meets Teyla at her quarters, asks if he can come in. And the way that he was speaking, I found to be just very sweet. He was being very calm and his voice was kind of quiet and not nearly as frenetic as we normally see him. He says that he was talking with Holling and found out that it's the anniversary of Teyla's father's death next week. And he's not sure that he's going to be around next week, but he'd be honored if she would share the memorial tea service with him because he's not sure if he'll be around to do it next week. So can he come in and serve her tea? Because I don't think you're supposed to be alone for that sort of thing, if this is allowed. Teyla is clearly touched by what he's there to do, and she goes to take the tray from Rodney, but he says, no, I know what to do, and you're the one that lost a loved one, so I am going to serve you. It was very sweet.
Yeah.
And then we see him sometime later finding Ronon, and he says he's checked the gym and the mess hall. Ronan's like, I wasn't there. But of course, those are a pretty safe bet that Ronan's going to be in one or the other of those places. Rodney wants to ask Ronon a personal question that he hopes Ronon won't mind. Ronon has scars on his back from his many encounters with the Wraith and from the tracking device that Ronon tried to take out of his back on multiple occasions. He asks Ronon if those are a badge of honor or just a reminder of something terrible that he'd rather forget. And Ronon says that he just does his best to not think about things that he can't change. He doesn't look too happy about it. It's not a badge of honor. He looks a little bit sad because he knows there's nothing that he can do about it. Rodney is surprised that Ronan's got such a healthy outlook on it, and then suddenly gives Ronon a giant hug. As he lets go of Ronon and before he leaves, he tells Ronon quickly, I hope you don't mind, but I just healed them. And he rushes off.
That was very affecting.
It really was. The whole thing I was affected by, all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Linka, Teyla, and Ronon, all of them.
Yeah. And then he goes to see Dr. Weir. He doesn't have tea and hugs, but what he does have is a 500-page account of Weir's work in Atlantis.
Yeah. All the good stuff, especially.
All the good stuff. A whole book. So it's basically like a defense of Weir and
an ode to Weir.
Oh, an ode to Weir, yes. Yeah. He even included her past and stuff. He'd done some research into her. And he hopes that maybe it might not be too overly maudlin in places. And yeah, so it was all good.
It was.
Then we're back in Shepard's quarters. He and Rodney are continuing to try to work on this ascension thing. Rodney continues to focus on the EEG number. Shepard tells him not to think about that, but he can't help but look. 17 hertz, not even close. Shepard says it's the closest he's ever been, though.
Only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Shepard tells him, remember, this is about letting go, but Rodney doesn't know how to do that. He thanks Shepard for his help, but it's not much else he can do. And he says in the grand scheme of things, we're good, though, right? Because he's still doing his... I don't want to say make amends. That's not the right word. He's being very heartfelt with his coworkers.
He is.
Yeah. But he says, we're good. And Shepard's like, of course, which is also a good way to do that because neither of them are good at talking about their feelings.
Right.
He asks Shepard to read his eulogy. Shepard does not want to talk about that. He's not ready to give up. He'd like his sister to be there, Rodney says, and, make up some nice things. And I told Beckett to do a full autopsy because science can learn so much from my brain. And he wants to be cremated, his ashes spread. Shepard's not angry anymore about hearing this. He's just like, come on, Rodney. But then suddenly Rodney's in pain and doubles over and collapses on Shepard's bed. So Shepard calls for a medical team and they take Rodney to the infirmary.
And that's where we are next. Rodney is in a bed, not looking so great. He's hooked up to a bunch of monitors.
Yes, more apparatus, please, nurse. The EEG, the BP monitor, and the AVV.
Yes, certainly, Doctor.
And get the machine that goes bing!
And apparently Rodney's synaptic activity has reached over 90%. I mean, pretty much all your synapses are doing stuff at all times, as far as I know. But whatever, we're going to go with this, I guess. They talk about the evolved state of his cortex again, which also annoys me, of course. Weir mentions that when ascension occurs naturally, the physical body is no longer needed anymore, but it does seem like Rodney's body is trying its best to keep itself alive, even though it's becoming harder for it to do that. Shepard says there's got to be something they can do, but of course there isn't, and Rodney says that it's okay. He's feeling a sense of peace, interspersed with sheer terror, of course, but overall he's feeling peaceful. Shepard once again tells Rodney, I know you've been struggling with the whole ascension thing, but please just give it one last try. You have literally nothing to lose, and it's the only hope that we have at this point. So Rodney says, I might as well go out fighting. So they hook him up to the machine again to see what his EEG is looking like. And as Beckett is there getting him ready with that machine, Rodney thanks him for everything. And Dr. Beckett says he just wishes he could have done more. So Rodney soothes himself by talking about clear blue skies and troubles drifting away and telling himself to stop talking. Dr. Weir tells Rodney that he's a good person and that they all love him. Rodney does pause his no-talking thing to say, you love me, all of you? Shepard clarifies in a friend way. So they go back to talking about blue skies and concentrating on his breathing. And the hertz dropped from 3 down to 2, down to 1. And just when it looks like Rodney might be dead, he suddenly snaps back, grabs Beckett by the shirt, stares very pointedly into his face, and then collapses and flatlines. Beckett immediately tells everybody to bag him and get him on a ventilator. Dr. Weir is horrified because Rodney has given his orders for no resuscitation, but Dr. Beckett tells her, you don't understand. He just told me how to save him.
Time to save Rodney.
Time to save Rodney.
I am shocked. Shocked.
Well, not that shocked.
Next we see they're rushing Rodney down a corridor towards the lab. Beckett radios to Weir that they're en route and that Rodney's pulse is very weak and are they ready? And Weir responds, they will be. And Zelenka says, almost. And they are in the lab. They finally reach the lab. Ronon picks Rodney up and carries him over to the pedal stool. And they activate the machine. We see another beam of light come and wrap itself around Rodney. And then he's awake. And he's like, it worked. I'm alive. And I can't hear any of your thoughts. And I can't float things. I'm still smart, though. That's important.
Indeed.
Yep. I'm my old self, he says. He feels great. He's hungry, even. Which he was hungry before.
He was always hungry.
Yeah. Everyone's relieved. Rodney says the answer came to him just as he was floating in a big black emptiness. They couldn't reverse the process with the machine, but because Beckett keeps blood samples, they had a previous version of Rodney's information saved.
Yeah, they had his DNA saved from his pre-machine altered state.
So somehow they could reset him with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was what they're trying to go with. They reset him to his default state using the blood sample that was on file.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like last week when Merlin reset Daniel, except for with magic.
Right. And we've also seen this on Star Trek where they needed to get a hair sample from Dr. What's-Her-Face when she got to be oldened.
Yeah, yeah.
Why am I forgetting her name? The one that replaced Dr. Crusher in season 2.
Yeah, Pulaski.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Pulaski, when she got that old virus, they reset her DNA through the transporter by using a hair follicle from her hairbrush or something.
Yeah. My favorite part of this when Ronon was also like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm just happy you're back, and gives Rodney a big hug.
Yeah, that was
which
cute.
Was nice. Yeah. And yeah, that's... Everything's great. Everything's fine. Back to normal.
Yep. So Rodney's in his lab. Dr. Weir comes in to check on him and asks how he's feeling. And he says that he's feeling terrible. Dr. Weir asks if he should get Carson. And Rodney says, no, physically he's fine. But he just can't make any sense out of the equations that he'd written down before. And all of his algorithms seem to be complete gibberish. So it's torture because he knows that they're important and he knows that they make sense on some level, but he just can't understand them currently. And so he's feeling extremely frustrated about that. Dr. Weir tells him that he did manage to drop his EEG readings as low as they needed to go in that last meditation. Rodney is shocked to see that printout, that readout that she has on her tablet. He had gotten down to 0.03, and he was delighted. He did it. He said, I could have ascended. Dr. Weir reminds him that he did say that he was floating in a big empty space when he got the idea of how to save himself, so maybe he did very, very briefly ascend? And maybe that's what it was that gave him the idea for how to save himself. Because, again, the goal had been to ascend and then figure out how to come back down into a regular body. But Rodney says, you know, it doesn't matter anyway, because what does matter is that you love me. Dr. Weir's like, what? Rodney says, you said it. You did. Dr. Weir says she doesn't remember ever saying that, but Rodney is like, you said it right before I was dying. Remember? She clarifies, I said, we love you.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
But Rodney says, yeah, but we means you. You love me. I've always had my suspicions. Now I know it. There was just some magical chemistry between us. I think I covered it in chapter 10. Have you had lunch? Maybe some snacks. Let's go keep each other company for a bit. So Dr. Weir, clearly not wanting to go on a date with Rodney, though, does agree that she'll keep him company while he goes to have a mid-afternoon snack. And he asks if Shepard is still bugging her to let him use the Ascension device to try to turn into a superhero. And yes, of course he is, despite how badly it almost ended for Rodney. Rodney says, well, maybe you should let him. But no, she says she will not do that.
No.
End of episode. Did you like the episode?
I mean, yeah, it was a fun episode. Heartfelt, very heartfelt.
Yeah.
A very good Rodney episode, obviously. David Hewlett always does a good job. He
does.
The only thing I would say is that I was thinking about, as you mentioned at some point, where the hell was Teyla in this? And why wasn't she utilized in this episode? I thought that was weird. And I'm wondering now if this is the point, the first time I ever watched this series where I was like, this is becoming Rodney and Friends instead of Stargate Atlantis. Because I feel like Ronon and Teyla have been sort of ignored for a bunch of episodes now. And I'd like to see more of them as not just side characters in this. So I think that's just an issue with the show in general, but this episode was great. How about you?
Yeah, I did like it a lot. I thought it had a good plot. I mean, it was a little bit redundant because, as I mentioned last time when we were reading the description for this, we've seen this kind of thing happen before when Daniel had to try to rush and figure out how to ascend, but they did at least go about it in a bit of a different way. And I thought a bit less of an annoying of a way without Oma Desala being involved in the whole process and talking about candles and dinner being consumed long ago or cooked long ago or whatever it was that they kept talking about. The heartfelt scenes with Rodney going and basically making amends with all of his friends. I thought that was very sweet, and that did get me in the feels a bit more than TV shows tend to. I thought it was a really nice bit. And as always, I was impressed with David Hewlett's acting because once again, we just saw a huge range out of him from completely frenetic to being quiet and thoughtful and sweet and taking care of his friends and speaking to them calmly and soothingly. So yeah, it was just a whole range of frenetic energy and panic and kindness from him. I thought he did a great job with this episode in particular. So I did enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yay. Yeah. We liked it. Episodes we like. Yay.
Yay. Episodes we like are always a good thing.
Will we like what's next?
Here's hoping. According to the booklet, we are going to be watching SG1 Season 10, Episode 15, Bounty, after Nathan and the Lucian Alliance are undermined by SG1 yet again. He decides to put a bounty on their heads.
Yay, the Lucian Alliance.
Great, yeah. Meanwhile, over at TVDB, when the Lucian Alliance puts a bounty on SG1's head, Cameron Mitchell finds himself a target while attending his high school reunion.
Okay.
A bit different over there.
Yeah. Okay.
I vaguely remember this. I don't think I remember it too clearly, though.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Indeed. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Thank you so much for listening to Stargazing with Kathy and Mary. Our fully listener-supported program couldn't be done without you. Show your support by telling everyone you know how awesome this show is. Find us at stargazing.space. Reach us by email at stargazing@gmail.com. Find us on social media at Blue Sky. Get some merch, tinyurl/stargazing. And finally, show your financial support at patreon.com/stargazing. Thank you for traveling through the gate with us. Catch you next time on Stargazing with Kathy and Mary.
I'm Mary.
I'm Kathy.
And you've been listening to Stargazing, the end.
The end. Yay!
Now I need to go do some cleaning and some packing.
Yay! I have to do one of those things, but not the other. I'll let you guess which one.